Welcome to episode 270 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's July 28, 1962. Dortmund, DFB Bundestag, and German football votes itself into the modern age. The Bundesliga is approved. Not kicked off yet. That comes on August 24, 1963, and we will get to that episode. But on this day, the decision is made. After decades of regional leagues, amateur ideals, hidden payments, political disruption, and growing pressure from the rest of Europe, West Germany finally agrees to create a single national professional league, the Bundesliga. One table, one champion, one top division. But how did we get here? Start with the DFB. We talked about its birth in episode 89, January 28, 1900, Leipzig, the Mariengarten, 86 clubs represented, and German football becoming an institution. But German football did not become the Bundesliga overnight. For decades, it remained regional, north, west, south, southwest, Berlin, different football cultures, different rivalries, different power centers. The German champion was decided through a final tournament after the regional seasons. That system had history. It had romance. It had local identity. But it was not a modern professional league. And by the 1920s, that mattered, because the rest of Europe was moving. Italy was professionalizing. Spain launched La Liga. Central Europe was already tactically and organizationally ahead. Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, the Miracle Cup, the Danubian football world. Germany, meanwhile, hesitated. Professionalism was officially resisted. The old amateur language survived. But the game was not innocent. Players were being compensated. Clubs were finding ways. Money was already inside the sport. So Germany had the worst of both worlds. Not fully amateur, not properly professional. And then politics intervened. The Nazi era turned sport into propaganda. The domestic game was reorganized into Gauligen. The 1936 Olympics in Berlin became theater for the regime. The Anschluss swallowed Austrian football into a greater German structure and damaged one of Europe's great football cultures. And then came the Second World War. After 1945, Germany itself was broken. West Germany, East Germany, Saarland for a while as its own football case. The DFB had to be rebuilt. And then came the miracle. 1954, Bern. West Germany beat Hungary 3-2. Das Wunder von Bern. Football helped rehabilitate a country. But here's the strange thing. Even after winning the World Cup, West Germany still did not have a national professional league. The national team had glory. The domestic structure still had a hole. And by the late 1950s and early 1960s, that hole becomes impossible to ignore. German clubs are not consistently dominating Europe. The best talent is spread across regional leagues. The national coach, Sepp Herberger, wants concentration of quality. Clubs want revenue. Players want clarity. And the old system cannot properly answer the new football economy. And there's also a sporting shock. At the 1962 World Cup in Chile, West Germany go out in the quarterfinals to Yugoslavia. Not a catastrophe, but enough to strengthen the reformers. The argument becomes simple. If West Germany wants to compete with the best, its best players must play each other every week. Not occasionally, but every week. The key champions of reform matter. Franz Kremer, president of 1. FC Köln, is one of the great believers. He had wanted a national league for years. Sepp Herberger supports the idea because he sees what it can do for the national team. Hermann Neuberger from Saarland football becomes a crucial political operator inside the DFB. And on July 28, 1962, in Dortmund, the vote comes. 129 delegates, 103 vote yes, 26 vote no. But the Bundesliga is approved. But so what? The decision creates a strange transition season. The 1962-63 season is no longer just another Oberliga campaign. It is an audition. 46 clubs apply for the first Bundesliga. Only 16 can be chosen. And that selection becomes one of the most controversial administrative moments in German club football. The DFB uses sporting performance over previous years, economic criteria, stadiums, regional balance, and political judgment. There are regional quotas. And there's also a rule against two clubs from the same city. And that matters in Munich. Because 1860 München are chosen. Bayern are not. Think about that. The club that will define the Bundesliga is not in the first Bundesliga season. Borussia Mönchengladbach are not in either, nor are Bayer Leverkusen. Some famous names are inside: Hamburg, Werder Bremen, Schalke, Borussia Dortmund, Köln, Eintracht Frankfurt, Nürnberg, Stuttgart, Kaiserslautern, Hertha Berlin. Others are outside, furious, but waiting. The first season begins in 1963. Köln become the first Bundesliga champions, and the league does what it was meant to do. It concentrates pressure. But the story doesn't stay Köln's story. Bayern and Gladbach arrive in 1965, and then the Bundesliga finds its first great rivalry, Bayern against Borussia Mönchengladbach, Beckenbauer, Müller, Meyer, Breitner, Hoeneß, against Fuchs, Netzer, Bonhoff, Heinkes, and Simonsen. Bayern win Europe, Gladbach win Germany, then Bayern win Germany, and then Gladbach win Germany again. This is the league becoming a machine. And the national team follows. Under Helmut Schön, West Germany win Euro 1972, and then the 74 World Cup, which we talked about in episode 249. Then they reach the Euro 1976 final, win Euro 1980, reach World Cup finals in 82 and 86, and win the World Cup in 1990. That is not one generation. That is a system producing final teams. The Bundesliga did not single-handedly create that, but it gave German football the weekly furnace it had lacked. And the Bundesliga becomes one of Europe's great club engines. Bayern's European Cup three-peat from 1974 to 76, Gladbach's UEFA Cups, Hamburg's 1983 European Cup, Dortmund in 97, Bayern again in 2001, 13 and 20, Leverkusen, Bremen, Schalke, Frankfurt, Stuttgart, Wolfsburg, different eras, different peaks. We have met many of them on the show already. Peak Borussia against Liverpool in episode 149, Beckenbauer against Bayern in episode 141, and Wolfsburg breaking Bayern in episode 155. And then there's FC Mainz and the 1971 scandal, which we talked about in episode 168, because the Bundesliga is not only a success story, it is also corruption, relegation panic, fan culture, governance, and the constant tension between money and identity. That 1971 scandal mattered partly because there was no national second professional tier yet, fallout of the Bundesliga, and the drop was brutal. So in 74, the second Bundesliga arrives, another structural correction. The machine keeps adjusting. And there's also the East-West angle inside this story. The Bundesliga is West German. Across the border, East Germany has its own football system, state clubs, official amateurism, full-time athletes in practice, politics everywhere. Sometimes the two worlds meet. Bayern against Magdeburg in 1974, which we covered in episode 6. Uerdingen against Dynamo Dresden in 86. Lutz Eichendorff's defection story, which I talked about in episode 125. Definitely go back and listen to that. And of course, the 1974 World Cup, where East Germany beat West Germany 1-0 in Hamburg. After the wall falls, football reunifies too. In 91, East German clubs enter the unified system. Hansa Rostock and Dynamo Dresden reach the Bundesliga. But the balance is harsh. Western clubs have money, structures, sponsors, stadiums, and television markets. Eastern clubs have history, supporters, and identity, but not the same economic base. Reunification on paper is easier than reunification on the pitch. Bundesliga's culture becomes distinct. Not a closed franchise league, not a free-for-all. Promotion and relegation, strong supporter culture, huge crowds, standing terraces, and the famous 50+1 rule. And an important clarification, the Bundesliga doesn't have an American-style salary cap. Its structure is different. There's member control through the 50+1 and a strict licensing system, financial scrutiny. Clubs must prove they can complete the season. That model has not made the league perfectly equal, because Bayern's dominance proves that, but it has helped preserve a particular German football idea. The club is not supposed to be only a product, and the fan is not supposed to be only a customer. For a long time, the Bundesliga had different champions: Köln, Nürnberg, Werder, 1860, Bayern, Gladbach, Hamburg, Stuttgart, Dortmund, Kaiserslautern, and Wolfsburg. But the gravitational pull becomes obvious. Bayern. Always Bayern. After missing the first two Bundesliga seasons, they become the defining club. They have never been relegated from the Bundesliga since entering in 1965. But there's no longer a founding Dauerbrenner. Hamburg were the last founding club never to have been relegated. That ended in 2018. The famous clock died. And that is perfect Bundesliga irony, that the league's eternal club was not invited to its birth. And finally, the global game. The Bundesliga gave football more than trophies. It gave it methods. The libero at its highest European form through Beckenbauer. The sweeper-keeper lineage. Collective pressing. The German coaching school. Rangnick, Klopp, Tuchel, Nagelsmann. Counter-pressing as a global language. Fitness, structure, transition, speed, youth development, and tactical education. The Bundesliga has never had Premier League's money. It has never had Spain's Real Madrid, Barcelona glamour. It has never had Serie A's 1990s aura. But since 1963, it has been one of football's great laboratories. And that is the real meaning of July 28, 1962. Germany did not simply create a league. It created the national infrastructure that connected clubs, coaches, players, supporters, television, youth development, and the national team into one weekly system. So before we go, 3 things to take away from July 28, 1962. First, the Bundesliga was late. Germany resisted professionalism longer than many football powers, clinging to regional structures and amateur language while Europe moved ahead. Second, the vote changed the national team. By concentrating elite players into one professional league, West Germany built the platform for the Euro 72, World Cup 74, Euro 80, and World Cup 90 era. And third, the Bundesliga's identity is not just Bayern dominance. It is also 50+1, licensing, promotion, and relegation, East-West history, fan culture, tactical innovation, and a constant argument about what a football club should be. On this day in 1962, the DFB voted in Dortmund to create the Bundesliga. The old regional world did not disappear overnight, but German football had chosen its future. One table, one champion, one national league, and a machine that would reshape Germany, Europe, and the world. That is all for episode 270 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. If you like this story, I ask you to help OTD getting pushed in front of new people. You can hit the subscribe button, rate the show 5 stars, and share it with your friends. It's the algorithm. And thank you. Tomorrow, we go to July 29, 1911, the IFA Shield, and the first All-India victory over a British team. See you then.